Well, good morning. This is Ian R. Crane, and it's actually it's not 8:30. It's about 6:30, and I'm doing a little bit of cheating today because I am doing a pre-record. So have to tell you the truth, because of course anybody that knows the angle of the sun at this time of the morning would know fine well that it's a couple of hours before 8:30. Well, I'm here at the entrance of the Misson Springs well site, and of course this is iGas. And iGas have just published their accounts for the past year, and thanks to the mug punters who bought into their share issue last year, it's actually not too bad. And unfortunately they could probably pass a financial resilience test. But if anybody invested in iGas thinking that this time next year they'll be millionaires, well, there's a few people who have other ideas. Anyway, what brings me out at this ungodly hour? Well, it's the lock-on. And unusually, it's not Nana lock-on. She's here in supervisory mode today. So, Nana lock-on, how you doing? How does it feel to be not participating in this lock-on?
Well, I'm quite struggling here because I just want to get in, but no, it feels all right.
It's a bit of a reflex action, isn't it?
It
to get
is,
that
yeah.
arm in there. But this is really remarkable. It's the first lock-on at Misson Springs, and it's actually just a day after Nottinghamshire County Council yet again rolled over, and despite the clause preventing iGas from working on the construction of the pad during the bird breeding season, after a 2-month extension, they've just got a further extension.
They have, yes, and we saw the lovely action from the lady yesterday.
Who's still in custody, I believe.
Who's still in custody, and we will be sending a couple of people over there to support her at court today. What I'm thinking is she's maybe refused her bail conditions, and so maybe that's why she's in, but somebody will be at court today to support her and also to support these lovely ladies.
Okay, now these are virgins. So, well, lock-on virgins, lock-on virgins at the very least. So this is two local ladies who are absolutely incensed by their local council basically just rolling over and giving iGas permission. So are you guys okay to have a chat? Yeah. Okay, so no names at this stage. So whereabouts do you live, ma'am?
In Nottinghamshire, the other end of Nottinghamshire though.
So you've taken quite a trek to come up here today?
It's about an hour, yeah. Yeah. Worth it though.
Yeah? So what motivated you to put your arm in a tube?
Well, they're taking away our right to peacefully protest, just diminishing day by day. This is the only way we can get to make our point, really.
And how long have you been following what's been going on up here at Misson Springs?
Oh, since it started. I've been aware of fracking and anti-fracking for 3.5 years now. So as soon as this started, I was here, yeah. So,
as you rightly said, you know, you're at Nottingham, the other end of the county, and it seems to be very difficult to get people who live in Doncaster, which is just 7 miles away, or Scunthorpe, which is barely 10 miles away, to actually take an interest in what's occurring here. How do you think we can maybe make them aware that, you know, when this kicks off, the contamination doesn't actually recognise county borders?
If I knew the answer to that, we'd have more people here and I wouldn't be doing this. We've been trying for a long time to raise awareness and get people motivated, but it's very difficult, and I don't understand why. Because as soon as I heard about it and researched it, I couldn't do anything but be here and stop it.
So what would be your message to people who live in the vicinity here of Misson Springs?
This is a nasty industry. It's going to hurt a lot of people, and it doesn't take much to just come down and spend a couple of hours at the gates when you can and support people.
The people don't have to put their arm in a tube, just
no,
to actually...
absolutely not. I've never done this before. I never thought I would. But yeah, if we had more people here, we perhaps wouldn't need to do this.
So do you have any history of activism or environmental activism?
Not since I grew up. I was a bit of a rebel as a teenager, but that's it, yeah.
So, but now you're sort of a fully fledged, fully paid up member of society. But, you know, the establishment isn't doing what it should be doing. Huh?
No, it isn't. I don't know what's happened to democracy at all.
Well, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And of course, across the other side of this device, whatever it may be, there's another local lady. Whereabouts are you from, ma'am?
I'm from near Chesterfield in Derbyshire.
So you've actually crossed the border to come here.
Yeah.
And did you get
Had
delayed
my
at passport control?
Yeah, had my passport out very early this morning. Managed to get through customs.
But this isn't your county. Yeah, and as we've just heard, it's difficult to get people from Nottinghamshire, and particularly Nottingham, which is literally the other end of the county. It's difficult to get them here. So how come you've been motivated to actually cross the county border to come here?
Because it's not a county issue, it's a national issue. It affects everybody. Well, it's an international issue, but it's going to affect everybody in the country if fracking took hold, which it won't do because we're going to stop it. But it doesn't respect borders. Water aquifers aren't limited to one county. So it's important to support all the groups wherever we can. And I think it's a network, isn't it? There's like everybody who gets involved starts to get to know people in other areas, and we support each other with trying to fight it.
And your own county, of course, is also under threat from INEOS.
Yeah, Seckington. It's a bit of a way from where I live, but yeah, that's probably the nearest site that's under threat. There's going to be a public inquiry in June. The county council unanimously voted against fracking, but yeah, obviously there's an appeal going through. There'll be an inquiry.
Well, it was almost unanimous, wasn't it? I think it was 9-1, wasn't it?
I thought it was unanimous.
Oh, maybe.
No.
It was 9-1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is fantastic because it is a Tory-held council.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that a Tory-held council has voted so decisively. To resist the threat of INEOS.
Marsh Lanes. It's got a Tory MP who is against fracking in that area.
Lee Rowley, yes. And of course he's just taken on the role of chair of the all-party parliamentary group to actually look at the viability of fracking in the UK. So, hopefully he's going to come up with the right answer. And of course the government actually have admitted that they've suppressed a report that was published back in 2000, or wasn't published rather, back in 2016, but was produced in 2016, which, in their own words, called into question the viability of this industry. So now it's down to the people. To do the resistance.
That's right, yeah.
So have you ever done anything like this before?
Never stuck my arm in a tube before, no. No, I've been at demonstrations and protests in the last year and a half over fracking, but no, I've never done anything like this before. And
no history of activism not in this sense anyway?
No. But I feel we've been pushed into this really. As Harriet was saying, it's like the police are restricting more and more how we can protest. It just seems like it's getting whittled away day by day, and even legal, peaceful protests, they're trying to prevent it happening. So we're having to resort to something like this.
Well, even yesterday they tried to serve the INEOS injunction on the truck surfer, and of course this was flying a kite because this is not an INEOS site. But they were just seeing if they could, I think, frighten her. But she refused to accept it anyway, so it didn't really matter. But thank you so much for what you're doing. You're at the front end of hopefully a long day, and it seems that you have a visitor. This beautiful owl. And of course this is really the whole issue behind why the original planning permission actually asked them to shut down, or instructed them to shut down on the 31st of January because of the long-eared owls, which are a rare breed, which have their, that's a barn owl, have their nesting site just at the site of special scientific interest, which is literally adjacent to the well site here. So as is always the case, you know, it's important to get boots on the ground. And, you know, hopefully then obviously other people in Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire and South Yorkshire will realise that, you know, this is something that will affect them. Because, well, especially Misson. Yeah. Especially Misson, which is, of course, Nottinghamshire. But, you know, Bawtry is South Yorkshire. And you actually have to go quite some way to find a community that, you know, a full-fledged town-sized community in Nottinghamshire. But nonetheless, as I say, it doesn't cross, it doesn't respect county borders. So we need more boots on the ground here. So the sun's really beginning to rise now. So let me turn this camera around. Okay. So the site of Misson Springs here is tucked away, as I've said before. You know, iGas actually had a stroke of genius perhaps by selecting this site, because it's right in this butt end of Nottinghamshire, a long way from the county town of Nottingham. So far so that there are many people in Nottingham who, when you say, have you heard of what's going on at Misson, they go, where? Where's Misson? They have no clue that this is actually part of their county. And Doncaster, 7 miles away, Scunthorpe, a little over 10 miles away. So beautiful part of the Wolds here, very quiet. This road here is not exactly a major thoroughfare, but nonetheless, it's really important that iGas comprehend that they're not going to get a free ride, and that there will be resistance, and that resistance is going to come from further and further afield. And ultimately, it really doesn't matter about injunctions, because those people who have done their research will hold those injunctions in the contempt that they deserve to be held in, because it is an onslaught against the democracy of this country, of the fundamental right for freedom of expression and the fundamental right for freedom to protest. And if you are interested in maintaining those rights, then it's really important that we have the boots on the ground, because otherwise the government and the industry just says, well, no one really cares anyway. You put an injunction in place, but it doesn't really matter because no one cares. We have to demonstrate that that absolutely isn't the case. And over the last few days, of course, I've been drawing attention to the real reason behind the culling of 17,500 trees in Sheffield. And yesterday I posted and retweeted a couple of videos from Sheffield where South Yorkshire Police demonstrate that once again they are completely out of control. And of course South Yorkshire Police have some rather unfortunate form, but it does seem that basically to be recruited into the police force today you have to have a room temperature IQ, and it almost seems to be a fundamental. In fact, it's been reported that on the application form to join South Yorkshire Police, if you spell your name right, you're overqualified. So it's a very sad reflection on the state of play in the UK today. But the upside of this is, as the tyranny, effectively, as the shutdown of the freedom of speech, of the freedom of expression is ramped up, then more and more people realise that they are living in a corporatist police state. And if that sounds like an exaggeration, then all I can say is you're not paying attention. So take a look, because it may not necessarily impact directly on your lives today, but it certainly will on those of your children and your grandchildren. So really this is a fundamental social responsibility to do whatever it is that you can do to protect what is left of the last vestiges of any kind of freedom in this country. And of course earlier in the week we had UCOG attempting to establish an extremely draconian injunction, which fortunately has been kicked down the road by those who stood up to say not in our name. So that case will be heard in London in the High Court in some 6 weeks or so. And once again, it's really important that people support those who are challenging these injunctions in the courts. So, well, that's it from me today. I'm going to be spending the day down here at Misson Springs. It's still so early that the day shift of Nottinghamshire Police haven't actually rocked up for their briefing yet. So we'll keep you posted throughout the day as to how things unfold with this very first lock-on at Misson Springs, and a lock-on that the participants are doing because they are concerned about this industry, and the fact that they don't live within a few hundred yards of here is an irrelevance, because they live in an area that is licensed, if not to iGas, then to INEOS or Quadrilla, and they are concerned that ultimately, if they don't stand up now, then the future for their children, grandchildren really doesn't bear thinking about. So hopefully we'll see you at Misson today, and of course if you're the other side of the Pennines, please do get along to Preston New Road and show your support for the community over at Blackpool. So thanks for joining me today, and hopefully I'll probably see you later on. There'll be other live streams, I'm sure, from the site here at Misson Springs, and I'll catch you tomorrow. So final word?
I don't know.
No, you're going to get comfortable now. I don't think you probably got much sleep last night, did you?
I got a bit actually, yeah, surprisingly.
But you can catch up hopefully during the day. Okay. All right. Well, stay warm, and we'll get this up on YouTube for the morning live stream.
Lovely.
And we'll keep you posted as the messages of support come in through the day.
Thank you.